Hi everybody, I just wanted to hop on here and share with you guys how minimalism has changed my life. And I wanted to share this because I think that it could be really beneficial to a lot of people to hear my story on how I was affected, because when I first stumbled upon this thing called minimalism, and it had a really great impact on my life and how I now live my life. And so I just want to share it with everybody. I first stumbled upon this thing called minimalism back in the summer or fall of 2015. And I was watching a TEDx talk by the minimalists. And if you guys don't know who the minimalists are, they're two men, and they're like really inspiring people. They have a podcast, they have two TEDx shows now, and they also have a documentary that came out last year called Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life. And basically, I will, in the comments, I'll leave the link for the TEDx talk that I saw that had changed my view on life. But basically, like, their story is that they grew up out of high school. They lived in California, and they had climbed the corporate ladder together. They both worked together, and they basically just worked and accumulated all of this money, thinking that if they had all of this money and all of this stuff, that they would find happiness. So they had like house with all kinds of bedrooms full of things, and they had all kinds of extra cars and all these luxury items, and they always kept striving to make more and more money, because they kept thinking, well, if I make this much, then I'll be happy. If I make this much, then I'll be happy. And then they'd get there and they still weren't happy. And so their story really resonated with me, because when I was married, during my marriage, I was very depressed, and I took a lot of my sadness out on shopping, and that was kind of like my outlet. I would go to Target all the time, and I would go to the store and I would spend like $200 in one shopping trip and on like all this bullshit that I didn't need, but I would buy it because I believed that like if I bought this, then I'm gonna be happy. If I got this gadget, or if I got these clothes or whatever, then I would feel happy. And it became almost like an addiction, or it was an addiction looking back. And I would go like 2-3 times a week to Target, and I would just buy all this shit. And I would get like this high from cashing out. I'd fill my cart up with all of this stuff, and I'd get all this like rush of excitement inside of me, and then I would go to cash out, and seriously, like, even before I even left the store after cashing out, that like excitement that I would get from the purchase was already like disappearing. And I would go home and I'd have all this stuff, and I was no longer that happiness that I thought I was going to get, that joy that I thought was going to get from these material things. It was gone already. And so I'd find myself going back to the store again, and I would buy more stuff. And it even got to a problem where I would return things because I'd get home and they weren't making me happy anymore. So I was like, why am I keeping it? Because I don't even need this stuff. And I would take it back, and then I would buy new stuff. And it was just like this endless cycle that I would go through of consumerism. And I now, like, looking on outsiders' perspective to how I used to live my life and constantly go through that cycle of consume, that it was a big problem, and it's not a healthy way to live. But I didn't know any better. I didn't realize that happiness comes from within, and it comes from giving, and it comes from growth and contribution and adding value into people's life, and connecting with people. And that is where you will find joy and happiness, that it's not in these material possessions. And we're raised in a society where we're showing our love through through gifting to people, through buying things. I mean, every holiday that you can think of, it's all centered around the presents that you're giving to people. On Christmas, people don't focus on celebrating time together and family time together. It's all about what latest and greatest gadget can I get for my kid or my spouse or family member to show that I love them. And birthdays aren't celebrating the fact that this person was born and alive and celebrating each other and their existence. It's a gift holiday, and what can I buy for you to show you that I love you? And Valentine's Day, let me buy you these jewelry and candy and flowers and all this bullshit to show you that I love you. And all that you need to show somebody that you love and care for them is just to be in their life and to be present, to give them your undivided attention and sit down and have a conversation with them and go for a walk, or just spend time together. That's what people want, is they want to feel like they're cared about and that they're loved. And so when I watched this video on minimalism, it really struck a chord with me because of my consumerism past that I had. And so basically, the minimalists in this TEDx talk, they talked about how they were going through that rat race of consumerism, and the way that they got out of it was they started looking and assessing their life and what they wanted in life and what wasn't working for them. And they realized that all this buying, it wasn't bringing them joy, so there had to be another way. And so they started getting rid of everything that didn't be of value to them anymore, and they started with material possessions. And so one of the guys of the minimalists, he got rid of everything that was of no value in his apartment and his house. He sold his house and he downsized to a condo, and he got rid of all the vehicles that he wasn't driving. He only needed one per one person instead of 4 cars, and all those other little things that we accumulate under our roof that were of no value. And that's kind of where I started as well, as I started selling and donating and paring down a lot of the stuff, all the stuff that just bombarded my house. And it was like a breath of fresh air to let this stuff go. And one benefit from that aspect of minimizing is that I clean a lot less. I mean, I rarely clean, and I don't ever have to organize, because there's nothing to organize when you don't have a lot of stuff. Everything just has its place, and everything that I have that enters into my house is something that I absolutely love, and it's something that is of value to me. It's not things that I just hold on to because they were given to me by someone and I feel bad like I need to keep it, or because I spent X amount of dollars on it. Because if you're not using it and you're not getting value of it, then why not give it to somebody else who will find value in it? And so that's kind of where step 1 started with me, and same with the minimalist. And so that was just kind of the beginning, is the material things of letting go things that do not serve you. And then it dives deeper into relationships, letting go of relationships that are not beneficial to your life, that aren't going to contribute to your growth and personal well-being. So I found myself holding on to a lot of relationships in my past that I felt like I needed to keep friendships and ties with people because we had a history together, because we went to high school together, because we're family, because we just have been friends for so many years, so we must be friends for life, because, and I realized, even though friends that I've had in the past, I love them, and I have a place in my heart for every single person that has entered my life. But like sometimes you go down different paths, and that's okay. But I just found that the path that I was on wasn't the same as the people that I was hanging around with, and that we didn't have the same interests anymore, and we didn't have the same hobbies anymore, and our values were a little different, and that's okay. Everybody's different. Everyone is entitled to be their own person, but it just wasn't, I wasn't getting value out of the time that we spent together, and I felt like I didn't belong anymore. I felt like I was going down a different route in my life. And so I had to learn to let go. And after that was the biggest thing that I learned to let go of was work, was my job that I had. And that was probably the biggest thing that has impacted my life as well. I don't know, I feel like all of them were like really good things that happened. But my job, I left my nursing job at a facility back in February last year. And it ties in with letting go of relationships that don't serve you. And so I spent the majority of my working life working in a nursing home or assisted living, some kind of a facility setting. And I love taking care of people. I love taking care of the residents, and I love the connection and helping others, and I love that aspect of it. But being in a facility setting, it was starting to be draining on me, and I felt like it was becoming a very toxic environment for me to be around, because I would go to work every day, and I loved seeing the residents. I loved taking care of them, but it was the staff. It was the staff that I just didn't want to be around anymore, because we would go to work and all I would ever hear were people complaining about how bad their lives were. You know, every day it's my family this or my life this, and it was always people telling me about how bad things were, and I couldn't listen to it anymore. I want to talk about good stuff in life. I know there's more good than bad, so let's hear something good about life. And I would try to help people and give them my opinion or advice or be a shoulder to lean on, but every day it became the same and same cycle of negative talk. And you can't help somebody unless they want to be helped. And it wasn't no longer conducive to me and my personal growth to be in that kind of toxic environment of all that negativity. And even though like the pay was okay or good, I guess, it wasn't worth it anymore, because I'm spending 36 hours of my week every week in an environment that was not good for this and for this, and it just wasn't worth any amount of money to be there. And I feel like if you're going to be going to work or a job, then you should, love what you want to do, but also feel good when you're there. You should feel good all the time, and anywhere that you spend your time, you should feel good. And if you're not feeling good, then remove yourself from the situation. And that's what I had to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that I needed to get away. And so this was February in 2016 last year, and I knew I liked coffee, so I was like, maybe I'll apply at Spot Coffee. Maybe it'll be fun to make people drinks and see people come in and smile and start their day and have conversations, and so I was gonna apply at Spot Coffee. And then a friend of mine had told me about a home care job. And I never did home care before, but I thought, you know what? I've always liked that one-on-one connection with the resident, and so I'll give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then I'll go to Spot Coffee or somewhere that is just doing something that is a happy environment to be in. And so I I went for the interview and I got the job doing home care, and I fell in love with the guy that I was taking care of. And he was my best buddy, and I loved his wife too, and I still love her. And yeah, I took care of him up until September of last year, until he passed away. And it was like one of the best experiences of my life, because every day when I went there, I didn't feel like I was going to work. I felt like I was just going to hang out with my friend and help my friend, and I felt like I was of help to somebody, and I felt appreciated, and I felt like I was in a loving and nurturing and positive environment, and it was just so nice to be around. And yeah, and so that kind of was a good indicator that, like, this is what work should be like. You should go into a job and just feel like you're valued, and that you're giving value, and that you are wanted there, and not it's not draining on you. It should be a positive and happy environment, and there's no reason that it shouldn't be. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going from here, but I guess I'll tell you like what I do now for work. I don't know. I got involved with like Food Not Bombs and Waste Not Want Not, and so it's all volunteer run. And over the summer, I wanted to get involved with like volunteer work, and some friends that I met last year had mentioned that Food Not Bombs cooks vegan food, and they get together and it's all food that's donated that would have gone to waste, and they cook a vegan meal and share it freely with the community to anyone who's hungry. And I love to cook, so I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And you get to meet a lot of people, which is really cool. And so I do that twice a week. And then I met my friend who started this project called Waste Not Want Not, and it kind of stems off of Food Not Bombs, where Food Not Bombs is more of like a direct action protest about how the government spends money on weaponry and war when there's hungry people in the world, and all this food going to waste. And so it's more of a direct action protest, and Waste Not Want Not stems off of that, and that we use food that would have gone to waste, but spreading awareness to people about food waste. And so with Waste Not Want Not, we're working to establish a pay-as-you-feel cafe, and we would serve all food that would otherwise go to waste, and it's all, volunteer. It's a pay-as-you-feel cafe, and what that means is that you don't have to pay with money when you go there. So you can come and have a meal, and you can pay by helping pick up food. You can help by cooking if you want to clean, if you want to do, contribute skills or resources, time and expertise, anything that feels good to you. It doesn't just have to be money. The world does not revolve around money. It doesn't have to. We make it for some crazy reason, but it doesn't. And we want people to know that they have more to offer than just what their dollar bills are. And that, yeah, so we're working to establish the cafe right now with this project. We don't currently have infrastructure to have the cafe, so right now we just do a food share. We do a food share on Sunday on the corner of Kensington and Bailey, and we set up a table outside, and we have all this fresh produce and prepared foods and baked goods, breads, and just all this abundance of food. And all of it would have been thrown in the dumpster, which is so absurd. But yeah, so we get all this food donated from grocers and farmers and bakeries and all these places in the city, and we just share it freely with anyone who wants it. You don't have to be poor, you don't have to be rich. It's anybody who will eat the food and prevent it from going into the landfill. And so that's what I do now. And both of the things are all volunteer run, so it's just all on our own time. And when Ken, my resident that I was taking care of home care, when he passed away in September, and I was juggling that and doing the volunteer work, I was just thinking like, this is so cool. I just love doing all this, and I just want to volunteer all the time because I just love contributing to my community, and I love giving back, and I just like, that is what brings me joy and happiness. And that, like, minimalism, I feel like got me to that point where I realized like that the things that will bring you like happiness, you know, happiness is within, but also that like it just proves like the material possessions, they might make you like smile for a second, but they mean nothing. Like, my house could burn down today and I wouldn't save one thing. I mean, I would save me, my dog, and my kid, people, but like all the material possessions, there's not one thing I would try to save because they're all replaceable. They all mean nothing to me. And the only thing that means something to me is my community, my friends who are now my family, and in personal growth, and you know, all of that stuff, building connections with people, having conversations with people, living a meaningful life. That is what life is all about. It's not about the stuff, you know. We gotta let go of that mindset. And so yeah, I was thinking after my resident passed and I was no longer working, doing that nursing job anymore, I was thinking about just how good it felt to get submersed in my community service, and how I just wanted to do it all the time. And so I took time off of work, and and I just like went like full in to just like doing whatever I could around Buffalo and just like helping people, and I love it so much. But yeah, and as far as like working a paid job again, like the only thing I want to do that involves getting a money job is that I want to feel like how I do when I do volunteer work. I want to feel like it's not work, it's just me going somewhere and helping somebody. And yeah, I might get money in return, but I might get food or I might get hugs, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, you might get something in return, but it's not all about the money, because money doesn't matter. And yeah, it's just crazy how that shift has happened in my life, and I'm just so grateful that I came across this TEDx video, and that I watched it, and that it opened my eyes and it opened my mind to a better way of life, a more simpler way of life. It's not always an easier way, but it's better. It feels so much better than the way I used to live my life. And when I see people at the shopping malls and like buying all this stuff, it breaks my heart. And I'm not saying like everyone who buys stuff is sad. I'm not trying to like insinuate that at all, but it just kind of like triggers back to a time in my life where when all I did was consume, it was because of the sadness that I had inside, because I was searching for something to make me feel good, to make me feel happy. And so if anybody else is out there that can relate to my story and I can impact them in any way, you know, that's the only reason that I'm sharing this, is because I just thought that, you know, I don't know, I was just getting ready for bed, and then I was just thinking, and that was a thought that came to my mind, and that's how I made the video the other day, as I was driving down the road and having these thoughts, and I was like, I should share this with people. And that's what I did tonight too. I was just thinking about how grateful I am for life and all the people in my life, and yeah, and how much I value them and appreciate them, and how much I love everybody that I come in contact with, and how you all mean so much to me. And so I just wanted to share that, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and night, and I love you.